Sarah?
Yes. Signs off, yeah, I saw that.
Did we get the sign?
Yes. And I did the wonderful signs, since we have that.
Beautiful. And I don't have my markers with me today. Is there a marker that I could use? Sorry about that. Well, let's start off with questions. Okay, we've been running our, first of all, congratulations on February. All right.
Blew that one out of the water,
That
didn't
is
we?
fantastic, an all-time record. That is tremendous. Thank you so much. I was talking with Dr. Tate about that and saying, okay, so how much of that do you attribute to the new system, the new thing that we are putting in place? And he had strong confidence that had a big part of it. How about you guys? Do you feel like that was a big part of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so as we start out, do you have any questions on how it's going? You know, Clay, we walk through the system. I find that I keep having somebody say this or somebody do this. I've got a question, how do I get around that? Or I always thought that if we go here, maybe it would be better, but I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Is there anything that we need to talk about before we dive into these notes? As you guys know, I'm much more interested in giving you answers to questions you have than giving you a bunch of answers to questions you don't have right now.
We really have just been talking in our morning sales meetings, you know, if we catch a hiccup, you know, what to do. And like yesterday we said, what happens when someone says, I want to come back in when I get paid to pay for this? We've been telling them now, just started yesterday and it worked. Let's put a down payment on them, or let's put, you know, a deposit on the frame to hold the frame for you. And that way,
You
they
get them
actually come
back.
in.
Yeah, you get them back because they got a down payment. That's great. Good job. Beautiful.
What I found, one of the things I found is used to, I could predict almost 100% in the room if they were not getting glasses. So I knew back there, I was like, yeah, there's no chance of this, and we'd still try, but now it's like 50-50. So I send them up, and when I look back to see if they actually bought something, it's like, oh, half the time that I thought this wasn't going to happen, now it's happening.
Okay.
And so, which is good. That means that, you know, we're getting people to buy the things we're trying to get them to do, the things we're trying to improve their lives with. They're actually getting it.
Oh, that's great.
Seems like it's pretty rare nowadays for someone to not get AR or to not get Tribex.
Yeah. That
Those are
almost
two
never
products
happens.
that, like, that's the
Tribex.
typical practice. That's their, like, ooh, we got someone in Tribex. That's great. Where we're like, no, you don't not get this. Like, there's no reason to not get this.
Fantastic.
That was great English, wasn't it?
That was,
Great
got
that
it.
was
Not
very
this.
good. Yeah. Some people have a way with words. Some people
No.
know have way. Yeah. So,
Some people
love
know
that.
halfway.
Yeah. Some people not have way. So, cool. Anything else? I mean, again, just want you guys to know, you are rare. All right? What you guys are doing, the way that you're grabbing hold of this and running with it is very rare. So I was just talking with Dr. Tate about this, most business owners, even though we have given them all the tools and we've talked about all of this, they just don't do it. You know, they don't keep up with it. And so as a result, even though they have all the tools, they don't get the benefit that you guys are using, or that you guys are getting, because you guys are actually using it. So it is very exciting to hear that you guys are doing it, that you're having your weekly meetings, that you're attacking this thing and being aggressive on it, and you're continuing to, I don't know if the word is fight for, but you're continuing to move toward clarity. You know, who was it, Newt Rockney said, it's hard to be aggressive when you're confused. And so as you guys are looking at this sales system that you have in place now, continuing to tweak, continuing to get more and more clarity, and like you said, just in the past couple of weeks, when somebody says this, all right, no problem, we're just gonna do, this is our move, when people say this, okay? Is that written down? Did you guys get that and write it down someplace?
Yeah, it's getting a whole lot easier, just even doing like the 20-point sales system, to be able to say, okay, well, you know, whatever's happening, if they say no to something, they might not wanna do it this year, but I'll write down next to it, maybe next year, like, and I write down notes and tell them, I'm gonna scan this in, that way we can pick up where we started, and then they're like, oh wait, you know, when it brings up points to the where they know, you have more options than just what you're getting today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talk about it every day, hey, this is what I said here, this is what we do here, like, that way we all have the same wording.
That's fantastic. And keeping track of all of our dashboard, you guys, and it sounds like you're liking that, okay? Which I think is important. There are some people that don't really like the dashboard, okay? Yeah, don't really want to know, don't want anybody else to know, but other people really thrive on that dashboard, and that just kind of lets you know that, okay, in this position, doing this type of activity, you really need someone that embraces that dashboard and that really goes after it. And if they are hitting the numbers, it's like it energizes them. If they're not hitting the numbers, it's like, come on, man. You know, there's a response to that. As opposed to if people aren't really engaged in the numbers and motivated or inspired by the numbers, then, you know, it's whatever. I'll get paid, and don't get paid, I'm okay. You know, it's just hard to build with that.
That, I was listening this morning, and it was related, that being the difference between the A player and the B and C player. The A player likes the numbers because they see they're doing good, and they see where they can improve, where the B and C players, it just shows them their inadequacies and the things they're not doing, things they're ignoring.
Fantastic. So you guys are doing a fantastic job. I know you probably heard the idea, inside sales and outside sales, okay? Inside sales is when people call you and when people come in, all right? We take care of them and we do things once they're here. Outside sales is when we actually go out and get people and bring them in, okay? So what I want to begin talking about is an outside sales system and the way that we're going to approach it, the way that we're going to be thinking about it. And then also 7 different points, 7 different steps of how to build a superstar outside sales system, okay? And so that'll probably be our next move that we'll begin doing, is actually kind of going back to people, as we've talked about, that haven't been here in a couple years, or people that filled out something but never have come in, okay? And then even finding some different lists where we just start calling folks. Hey, we're just calling everybody in this organization, we're calling everybody in your neighborhood, which is always great. You know, you can get lists of neighborhoods, just like if we were to choose a neighborhood just right over here or in the area. We're just calling everybody in your neighborhood to make sure that you know about us and we'd like to get time and blah, blah, blah. We put together a script to bring in those people. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then also making sure that we have a system in place that allows us here at Inside Eye Care to connect with these people anywhere from 12 to 24 times every single year. It's just a system, okay? It's not tier all the time, sitting here writing letters to everybody, okay? But there's a system in place, and so we know at X date, on X date, this is what we do to make sure that we stay connected, okay? A lot of the notes, most of the notes that we're talking about today are coming from a conversation with Brian Smith, who is a State Farm insurance sales agent. He owns his own agency here in town, and he's one of the, I believe, he's like one of the top 5 State Farm agents in the country. And so brings a lot of skill. He used to be in real estate, dominated in real estate, and he said, hey, I wonder if I could do this over here as well, because he thought he liked the hours better, you know. So he has been going, I think, about 6-7 years here on the insurance side, and now has, I think, 3 different locations, buildings, and has just done really well. Okay?
What's his name?
Brian
I
Smith.
want to say he's come in here before with a business card.
Really?
Someone from State Farm came in and said that he was new to the area. That name sounds familiar.
Okay.
It was years ago.
Yeah, I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure, but yeah, just a real sharp guy. He's a friend of mine, and also we do some business partnering together. But that's kind of where our conversation is coming from. This is where our notes are coming from. So what we're going to be talking about are like these power moves for how do we take people that, how do we get people connected to us, and then how do we keep people connected to us? Talking about these power moves. All right, so as we dive into page 1 here, Have you guys ever done this before? Like done a little research on competition? You know, that's always an interesting thing. We did this a couple times when I was in my previous job, where we would call like companies and work through their system to find out, do they have scripts when you call them on the phone? Do they follow up? How do they follow up? What do they follow up with? And then with my company that I have now, there was a lot of things when people, because I was wanting to put together stuff on my website, when people responded on my website, a whole follow-up system. So what I did was I went out there and I started signing up on several websites where people were doing things similar to me, because I wanted to see what type of follow-up system that they had. And some of them were really poor, some of them were like, ooh, I really like this, this is really cool. So that might be something for you to look at your key competitors and give them a phone call and see what they say on the phone. Give them the objections that you are used to hearing. How do they respond to those same objections? How do they follow up with you? Do they give you a phone call back? Do you get a text back? Do you get an email back? How is it that they are responding back to you? So just something to toss out. So you're not just starting from scratch on a white piece of paper. You can actually look at your competition and kind of find out how they are doing it. Do they do it well? If they are, reproduce that sucker. Do what they do, type of thing, which is what I did with a Brian Tracy and a Dave Ramsey type of thing. It's like, okay, I like the way they did this, so I'm going to do it the same way. So first of all, fundamentals of the follow-up, okay? I love this here. Now this is, again, primarily a lot of this is when we are calling people and getting them on the phone, okay? So this is like an outside sales as opposed to when we're sitting right over here with them and we've already got them in, okay? So this is more of the outside sales outside sales system here. 40% of sales people give up after just one phone call to somebody. I've been working with my assistant. You guys met Sean, I think a couple months ago he was here. We are working a specific list here in Tulsa, and Sean has been through the list now 4 times. There's about 1,200 names on it, and he has been through the list calling all of these phone numbers 4 different times. And so as opposed to just going once and, well, we got some, we didn't get some, so let's move on. We are continuing to stick with that list. Again, most of the time we call, especially if we're in that sales spot, and we're thinking, you know, well, I don't want to get rejected, so we get a little nervous about it. Now, this is when it gets difficult, when you're actually calling people that aren't already here, okay? Have you guys had any experience of this, okay? When it's like, I'm going to call someone, they might say no, all right? They might say no, and they may even cuss at me, you know, type of thing. And so many times, well, as it says here, 40% of salespeople give up after one call. So the key thing here is, we'll find out in just a moment, that most people don't respond to an outside sales until they've been hit like 8 to 12 times. Okay? So we have to keep going. Keep going. What is the phrase I use? You may want to write this out to the side here. Cry, buy, or die. So we keep going until they cry, buy, or die. Cry is when they just, you know, they just finally complain and gripe about us calling and everything, so we just go, okay, we're going to let them go. Obviously, when they buy, that's when we finally get a yes from them. Or when we have called like 8 different times, we're not getting anything. We don't hear back from them or anything. They're just a dead lead. So we move on. But we go till they cry, buy, or die. We have a system that follows up for a full year. Now, I know that we've talked about marketing calendar, correct? Is that something that's gone from you and I to them?
It's in process.
Okay, in process. Part of this marketing system is our follow-up sales system, okay? It's marketing, yes, but it is kind of with a sales bend to get people to come back in. So we want to make sure that we have a calendar that's set up for the entire year, so we don't have to sit here and go, man, sales are down a little bit this month. We only have a couple weeks. We need to have some big marketing push. Well, good luck. with that. That marketing push in February needed to be put in gear back in December and January. Okay, so we want to have that marketing calendar for a full year. In some way, you are going to be hearing from us multiple times during the year. So companies that nurture leads, catch this, companies that nurture leads have 47% higher profits than companies that don't. 47%. So does anybody have their phone with them? We're going to do that math. Okay, 40%. Just think about your profit margin right now, 47% higher. What does that number actually equate to? It's nice to hear 47%, but then when you actually see what that number is, you know, like $120,000. I mean, all of a sudden it's like, hey, it's time for us to follow up. Okay. Prospects are less concerned about getting a lower price and more concerned about you responding to their needs. So as we get into these power moves, step number one is our follow-up. And have you guys found so far when you've been here in the store that the real power of your ability to close with someone is your willingness to listen to them? Have you found that when you listen to them, have you gotten to this point? When you listen to them, you'll actually hear what they want you to tell them? Have you gotten there? I mean, that's huge. So many times we are so set on getting to the sale at the end that we forget to listen to them, and so we're kind of pushing them down a path and we're not hearing what they're saying to us. But if we can get to the point where we are comfortable enough with the system, which it sounds like you guys are, where we're comfortable enough, the people will actually tell you what to say next. They'll actually answer the question for you before you ask it, or they will actually tell you which question they want you to ask them next. Anybody think of an example of when that has happened?
Going through the 20-point sales system, you get closer to the bottom, you ask them how, you know, is there anything that your glasses haven't performed well, you know, any of your hobbies, sports, anything like that, or, well, actually, when I sit at my computer, I have to do this all the time, which is the next question. I have to do this, and I don't like them, and then they're sliding down, and just easy fixes. You're like, okay, well, here, you know, on this, we're going to do this for you, and then we're going to do this, and it's going to widen that channel.
Like fish in a barrel.
Yeah, it's so easy after you just start asking them questions. They want to talk, and you just sit there and listen and write down whatever they say.
Okay. Yeah, and as they're writing it down, it just gives you these referral points to come back when you get down to the end and you say, okay, here's where our price is, and they're going, oh man, you know, I don't know if I want to do that. Then again, you just come right back to those notes that you said and go, okay, now remember, this price will do this, and it'll take care of all of these things for you. So if you don't like that price, which of these do you want to live with?
I've had a lot less people say, because we've gone through 20-point sales, and then we go over our quote and say, okay, this is the one that we talked about, that, you know, isn't going to make you have to do this or turn your head as much. That's going to be this price. And then they're like, okay, well, I want to keep this, I want to keep this. There's not an issue near as much as it used to be.
Fantastic. Okay, so that's our inside. Now when we come to this outside thing, just kind of, again, keeping track of folks. So what we've got here on our follow-up is we want to set up a system to connect, what's it say here, the system that's going to be connecting with them a minimum of 12 times a year. Okay? Now at this point I don't think we're doing outside sales. Is that correct? Yeah, we're not doing outside sales, but this is kind of the next step of where we're headed. So what we will be doing, I want to talk about 5 different pieces that as we begin to put that system together, the things that we're wanting to do to make sure that we are consistently following up with folks here. So, number one, do I have here? Yeah, we're gonna have number of calls, two L's, number of calls, is determined. So we've got to figure out how many people we're going to be calling each day. If we've got, I'm just making up numbers here, okay? But if we have 2,000 past patients, okay, that have been with us over the years but haven't been back in a while, then what we need to do is how many phone calls are we going to be making each day to connect to those 2,000? Now originally you might be going, well, 2,000, I don't know, how many do we want to make each day to reach all 2,000? But here's how we kind of break that thing down. For instance, Sean has been making phone calls for me over the last 9 weeks, and he was making 100 phone calls a day. And so I did the math. This was back at the beginning of February. We did the math, and I was thinking, okay, this is what I'm paying him. And he made a certain number of phone calls up until that point. I think it was like 6 weeks up until that point. And what I'd done is going, okay, based on what I'm paying you, to make this many phone calls took you X number of hours. Okay, is that fair enough? Usually you can make about 25 phone calls an hour. That's kind of a standard. So based on the number of hours that that I had to pay him, it looked like I was spending about $280 to $300 for him to make those phone calls. Okay? But those phone calls were leading to a certain number of appointments for me, which were leading to a certain number of presentations for me to actually do a face-to-face, which was leading to a number of closes for me. So we found out, as far as how many phone calls we wanted to be doing, we found out really quickly that for him to make that number of phone calls and me spending about $300 to make that happen, Sean was bringing in $32,000 into the company in that year. So I was going, oh, okay.
Cool.
This works, so it's worth it. Okay, this is a good thing. But then if I'm wanting to scale that and make more money than what I need, then what I'm going to do simply is say, okay, if we keep the same percentages going, then we need to increase from 100 to 150 phone calls, or to 200 phone calls, or to whatever. Okay? Because if these percentages stay true, then if we just tweak this number over here, the numbers will change. Is that fair enough? Mm-hmm. So what we have done now, he was making 100 phone calls twice a week for me. And so what we have done now is he has gone to 100 phone calls 4 times a week for me. So we've doubled the number of phone calls, and we are finding that our percentages are even better now. And so now the amount that I'm paying him to make phone calls is bringing in close to about $80,000 into the company, which is huge for us, okay? So that's why it's important for us to track these numbers, okay? So as a business owner and as a manager and as a director, you can actually scale things, all right? So it's going to be really important. So first of all, we need to determine how many phone calls we're going to make. So at the very beginning, you can take a shot in the dark if you want. Okay, we're going to make 100 phone calls a week or something like that. Each salesperson is going to make 100 phone calls a week, so about 20, 25 a day. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then what we want to do is see what that produces for us. Okay? So we make phone calls. Number 2 here. So 1. Number 2, use technology to assess, and I think this is my pen kind of looking here. Let's see here. I'm not assess, but to assist. Let's say that says assist.
Oh, we're gonna say that, sure.
Okay? To assist the follow-up. Now, what this would look like, have you guys ever heard of Hootsuite before? Okay? Hootsuite is a way for you to post on social media platforms. You do it one time on Hootsuite, and Hootsuite posts it on all of the different sites all at one time, okay? As opposed to, well, we gotta go to Facebook, we gotta go to Twitter, we gotta go to this thing, all right? So one example of this would be something like Hootsuite.
Steve, do you use that? Hootsuite, do you use Hootsuite? That's what we're
She's
trying to
fixing to.
And another piece of technology, you guys have probably heard of Constant Contact before, or MailChimp, okay? Okay, these are ways, although I think you have an inner office system that does the same thing, but it is an email system to where you can write an email one time and it sends that email out to multiple people, okay? Your newsletter list, or to, you know, just all of the people that have connected with you. So that would be I use MailChimp. Another one is called Constant Contact. I'm sure that you guys all get emails from some type of an organization that you just get periodic emails. Chances are very good if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that email, you'll see what service they are using, okay? And again, I think you guys have it, what's it called, the inner office system?
Solution Reach.
Solution Reach, you guys already have that in the software package that you're using here at the office, okay? But these, again, create an easy way for us to shoot out these emails. Can you schedule emails? Beautiful, okay? So what we can actually do is schedule emails for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, the entire year. And those things automatically go out. One of the things that has been fun for me, we have been hammering this thing over the past 4 weeks with my company, and I've had just in the last 4 or 5 days, as I'm bumping into people, man, Clay, just sounds like all kinds of things are going on in your company. You got this going on, you got that going on. It's like, okay, I scheduled all of this stuff to happen last month, at the beginning of last month. So people are getting emails from me, people are getting the Facebook posts, the Twitter feeds, they're getting LinkedIn stuff, and it looks like I'm just on the computer every day, just, hey, here's what else going on, when really, that was scheduled a long time ago, okay? And I've got one, so I have, just last week, I did a speaking event, okay? And on my list after speaking events, I have all of this follow-up, okay, that I will do. And the thing is that I have already scheduled 5 different follow-ups with those people, but they won't get them until April and May and June and July. They've already been scheduled because we are using this technology, okay? So again, it's not in the midst of running around and everything, oh my gosh, I've got to send that email out to everyone today. All right, we're going to schedule it to make it a whole lot smoother for you. Let's see here. We're going to get number 3. 1 call every 30 days. Okay? So along with the emails, along with the posting, we're going to get phone calls going out. So we need to script each one of those phone calls of what that phone call is going to be and what's going to be on the call. Again, most of the time you're not even going to reach people. Okay, so it's not like you are actually talking to people 12 different times. Throughout the year, most people you will probably talk to twice. Okay, all the other times you're not going to get them. But we can leave a message, you know, that's all just part of the script. If they don't pick up, we are going to leave a message because we do want people to know that we have called. If we are pursuing a cold calling list where people don't know who we are and we have not yet connected with them, then there's no need for us to leave messages. We just move right on to the next one. But if people have connected to us and we want them to know that we are reaching out to them, all right, then we do always want to have just like the little alternative If no one answers, here's the message that we want to leave. Okay, short little script on that. And number 4, send a postcard. On this here, we have every quarter. Yeah, I tell you, when you get to the skinny pins, the writing can get a little ugly.
That really bad,
And when you get that going on, yeah, it can be kind of interesting, all right, can be kind of fun. So what we're gonna do is, again, rather than writing these things having to write these things all the time, what we want to do is, you can print these suckers out, okay? It's a pre-made postcard that we set up, and if we need to put graphics together for you, all right? It doesn't have to be a handwritten postcard. Hello, how are you doing? It's great to see ya.
We'll let Dr. K write
But over here, and then the next one, okay,
No,
now
no,
what do
you
I
don't
say
know
to this
that.
one? It's just not time efficient, you know? So it's just gonna be a short, it could be each quarter, so it's gonna be seasonal. So something could be around Christmas and around November. It could be something about a special that we
I
have
love our
coming into that
seasons.
season, okay? But we're gonna get a postcard to them, so they're getting a phone call each month. They're getting a postcard each quarter, and then number 5, right here, send an email. Let's see here. Or text. Dr. Tate, does your system do texting?
yes.
It does?
You should see what it does. It has this thing Alyssa found yesterday where it shows us a map of where all of our customers live, and you can scroll into the
Oh,
neighborhoods
no.
and see the amount of people we have in the same neighborhood. It's
We've like
awesome.
infiltrated whole neighborhoods.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 people in each neighborhood around us. It's cool.
Oh, dude.
Alyssa did
And
it.
then you can zoom all the way out and see where everybody
Goldfinger,
is.
yeah, that is beautiful,
That's cool.
because now that gives you neighborhoods to pursue
Yeah.
in these, with this cold call. We've noticed that we have been working with, 17 people in your neighborhood, so you have become a prime neighborhood for us. You have become a
That's good.
platinum neighborhood for us. You become a, some kind of, a super special.
You're a super special neighborhood.
Super prime.
The average house value in your neighborhood is 600 above. You have been automatically qualified.
Exactly, yeah, you have been automatically qualified.
To come
Yeah,
to
your
our-
neighborhood has been qualified for a special because we have this many people. That's good
Your
stuff.
neighborhood is
We're
qualified
qualified
for you to come into our establishment.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
You've been qualified to come and do business with
Like,
us.
you have a gold card that you
Yeah.
can scan at the door.
Love it.
That my
But we're gonna
neighborhood's
do
like, oh my
this
gosh.
10 times
They're purple.
All purple
a
dots.
year,
Okay.
okay? So again, we're gonna use technology to schedule this stuff. So, at some point in the year, it takes a lot of time to do this. But once we've done it,
Yeah.
it's one and done.
One and done.
And so what we do is each year we just put on our calendar, this is when we do it. All right, does that make sense? And then we set it up and we can step away from it and let the system run itself. And then what we're doing on a consistent basis is making those phone calls, okay? Your neighborhood has qualified for, that's some sweet stuff right there, dude. Happy, 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 I'm happy today. Okay? So, let's see. Now, how about this? Are we, on our dashboard, are we getting, this is where the beauty of this comes in when we're keeping track, okay? We're keeping track of how many people are coming in each day, correct? Okay, so I'm gonna make up some numbers here. Let's say we have 100 people coming in each day, all right? I'm just making it up, because it's gonna be easy this way. So 500 in a given week. And of those 500 people that come in, we have the average amount that people spend is $350, $375, okay? And we know that the percentage of people that come in actually spend that. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So now what we're wanting to do is we want to go to the $1 million business So using those numbers, how many people do we have to have coming in every single day? If we just rely on word of mouth, if we just rely on inside sales, then we're kind of out of control. The only thing we can control is once they come in. Does that make sense? But now what we want to do is actually begin to control getting more people in. And so that's where this outside sales system comes in. It's why we're starting to make the phone calls. So a big question, I'm not sure if you guys have done this, probably have, knowing you all, but how many patients do we need to see every day? And what is that average amount that they need to be spending when they come in? Do we know those numbers? And if we do,
Our average is $5.25.
That number is based off that we have a capture rate of roughly 50 to 55%. So we have 15 complete exam appointment slots every day. And right now, our average for per patient is around $230, which equates to $460 if only half the people are buying. So this goes back to getting our $1 million a year, the combination of getting more per patient and versus also getting more people actually buying. And so that's what as we're growing and we're so good at pre-pointing, we've got a lot of people coming in not in the mindset of buying. We've got to be talking about those additional needs, not just I have one pair of glasses that does one thing, but okay, are you on a computer where you need an office pair? Do you drive with your main pair? Well, we need to have a sunglasses option. That's where that dollar per patient comes up. That's also where that capture rate comes in, because a lot of those patients who come in thinking my eyes haven't changed, we have to identify, no, you have a need you haven't realized, and that's where the sales system works to do that and to build that, making those numbers come up, making us hit those goals.
okay? So the idea here with the numbers, we can actually lead our company by the numbers if we know the numbers. So if we're wanting to hit the $1 million, how many patients do we need to have at a given amount each year to hit that number? Does that make sense? And so that number of increase, again, just making it easy, that number of increase is 100 each year that we need to have an extra 100 people coming in, okay? Then how many phone calls are we going to have to make to get those 100 people in? Does that make sense? If the number then, the following year is 200, okay, well, it's now all of a sudden what we've done is we have scaled our business. So it's just a matter of turning up. If we make 200 phone calls, it will produce this many. If we make 300 phone calls, it produces this many. And if we can keep the close rate at a certain amount, then we know that our revenues each year are going to go up and up and up. And then one of the fun things that Dr. Tate gets to do is he gets to determine, okay, at what point do I bring in a new doctor? You know? But all of a sudden, because we're keeping track of the numbers, we're able to track our company and we're able to plan for the future of the company based upon the numbers. As opposed to, man, I'm just really tired. I think I need to hire somebody to come in and help us. And so we hire someone and they come in, but they're not really busy, you know? And we don't really have any kind of a system to get them busy. It was just, I was tired. Then all of a sudden, after a month or two of having that helper, I'm not so tired anymore. So I'm thinking about now firing the person because I'm spending too much money because I don't see the value. Does that make sense? So this is how we are tracking or how we are pacing and leading our company by the numbers. Love this stat that we have here. 80% of all transactions will require 5 to 12 follow-ups. So if we've got phone calls going out, if we've got emails and texts going out, if we've got postcards going out, then we are going to be touching, all right, not hitting, but we're going to be touching each of these people that have not known anything about us, okay? Before, they didn't know anything about us. We're going to be touching them now several times during the year, okay, to get a response. So the idea is that in the future when they go, oh, we need to go to an eye doctor, top of mind, tip of tongue. That they'll be coming here rather than going someplace else, okay? And that's when things really get exciting. So how did you hear? Well, I got a postcard. So how'd you hear? Well, I've been getting emails. So how'd you hear of us? Well, I've been getting these phone calls. Man, it's working, it's working. So all of a sudden, you're tracking, you're finding, okay, we got 3 new patients this week from our outreach. We had 5 new from our outreach. This month, we had 27 new patients due to our outreach, and they each spent $500. You know, so all of a sudden, you're like, holy cow, it's working. Okay, so this is kind of what we are looking for on a follow-up system. People are still answering and calling back even after multiple touches. Don't let negative attitude stop you on this. This is where a strong sales manager, okay, somebody that can encourage the workforce to continue to make phone calls, even though they're getting a lot of no's. All right, chances are pretty good. When you're getting people in here, there's not a ton of no's. I just flat out, no, I don't want anything. But when we start doing outside sales, you're gonna start getting a lot of no's. Okay? Make 100 phone calls, you're actually gonna talk to maybe 15 people, and of those 15 people that you talk to, you're probably gonna get 2 or 3 yeses. Everybody else is gonna go, no, don't want it, no, don't want it. And you gotta be able to keep blowing through that, even though people are saying no. All right? So any questions so far on follow-up? Any ideas? Anything come to your mind as we're talking about the value of follow-up here? Any other ideas that you have, other ways that we could follow up? We talked about email, phone calls, postcards, candygram.
No, that sounds really good. I wonder if we should get some stake signs for those neighborhoods that have a lot of people in the place.
Say inside, you know, like the ones with the realtors with their face on, I was like, oh, hey, look, there's someone's face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to read it, I just see the face.
If there are, I mean, again, this is something to consider, that if you have patients in neighborhoods, if they would put out a little yard sign, you know, I mean, something to consider.
My yard.
What's that?
Do you guys know a way that we can ask a patient to do a simple few second thing that will not
Google review.
embarrass them of having a sign or talking awkward to a friend, but will be seen for a long period by thousands of people? Google review. Our webpage at the very top has a button where they just Google Inside Eye Care, click the webpage, or click leave a review on Google's page. It will bring them where they can spend 10 seconds. All it has to do is 5 stars and write anything. Doing as good at this. We've got to start asking patients to do this. This is huge for outside sales, for how, well, people look on the internet for huge amounts. I mean, if you look at patient demographics, you see how much more in the last 2 or 3 months people are saying, I found out from Google, than ever before. New website, push on this, and this is where this whole marketing thing and where a lot of the stuff that Clay is talking about today and helping me with is pushing. This is where practices grow and boom these days, is that type of thing.
Yeah, especially in areas like Jinx, Tulsa, Broken Arrow. You know, when you get out into the boonies and stuff like that, it may be, you know, they're still using phone books. or something
Right,
like
but we
that,
get
in
all of
big
them.
cities.
Yeah, we already get them, so
Yeah.
we don't have to market to them.
Yeah.
We get most of Now's things.
And the best thing is, it's free.
Yeah.
We're not spending money on advertising. That's more money to invest in
True.
things here. Invest in us, invest in devices, fixing old computers, things like that.
Say I sell a pair of glasses to them, do I ask them right then and then also ask them when they pick them up, or do you want me to?
When I was thinking of this last night, there was probably 8 or 9 patients yesterday that before they left the exam room, they were wowed and they were the champions of us. We had a lot of new patients and a lot of people came in with problems that had never been addressed. So we had victories before we ever even got them to the sales system. There were many times along the way that we should have asked for, hey, please do this. This, helps us out more than anything. And don't spin it as it makes us more money. It says, this is how we need your help to get our message out to more people, so more people can have their lives improved like yours has.
Yeah,
That's how
always
we have
wrap
to
it
spin it.
around improving lives.
Yeah.
If you knew you had an opportunity today to touch somebody and change somebody else's life, would you say yes to that, or would you say, no, I don't? I don't want to do that. Most people are going to say, yeah, I would. Well, one way you can change people's lives is go to our website. Just leave a quick review. Take you 3 minutes. Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I've noticed a lot here lately is Facebook has the looking for recommendations. And so a lot of people that are doing South Tulsa, different things, or Bixby, Glenville pages, that people will just say, hey, I'm new to the area, or I know Dr. Skaggs in Bixby, he passed away a little bit ago. So people are saying, hey, I've gone to Dr. Skaggs for all these years, I'm looking for a new eye doctor. Just comment. You just keep an eye out for stuff like that, and that reaches how many people on those pages. And then, even I see them for restaurants all the time, and I'll be like, ooh, I wonder, I haven't ever thought about that. And so I start reading, well, I'm gonna try a couple of those places on there. So, if someone's looking or not even thinking about going to the eye doctor, then they might make a phone call just based off of somebody's recommendation on Facebook.
Right. Okay, so to capture this idea of the possible yard signs in these neighborhoods, to capture this idea of our software actually allows us to see the number of people in a given, okay? Hopefully we're writing that down, and we're gonna dive into that sucker and see how that thing can work. And I'm gonna use that a little bit here in Power Move number 2 when we're talking about the actual phone conversation that we're going to have. Again, this phone conversation here, when we're talking to a cold call person, someone that doesn't know about us at all, is going to be a little bit different than when somebody is already in the shop and, like you were saying, Dr. Tay, has already been wowed by us. Okay? Either they've been coming for a while, or they've just spent time here in the shop and they've already been wowed. So this is going to be a little bit different here. But again, the idea here is that we are asking a lot of questions. Okay? When we are in this conversation, have you guys ever heard of the 70-30 rule before? 70%, 30%? You want to give them the opportunity to talk 70% of the time. You are going to talk 30% of the time. So how do you set that up? By asking questions and giving them time to respond to the questions. Because as you have found in your inside sales, when people are answering your questions, they're actually giving you specific information on what you're going to need to tell them to sell them. Okay? So the 70-30 rule on the conversation here. 70-30 rule. If I can handle this either. Sorry about that. Let's see. We want to listen to understand. Again, as we were talking about also with doing our inside sales here, if we get too focused on the end, on the closing at the end, then we can miss all of the gold that's going on in the conversation. We're not listening, we're not understanding where they are, and so all of a sudden we get to the end and we say, okay, it's going to be this much, and all of a sudden there's a disconnect. Have you guys experienced that? Getting to the end and sensing that there's a disconnect, okay, there toward the end. When people are saying, that's too much money, what are they actually telling you? Very good. They don't see the value yet. So we always go back to the value conversation as opposed to going back to the price conversation or the cost conversation. We always go back to building in more value. And let's see here. So let's see. So we are going to script the call, and Dr. Tate, if we are specifically going after some of these neighborhoods, which I would strongly suggest, there's like we were talking about, a great way to script these phone calls is to let them know that their neighborhood is a special neighborhood. We want to add value to your neighborhood experience, your community experience. We just have finished doing calling. It's that list I was telling you about that we've gone through 4 different times. It was the Home Builders Association list. And so in our scripting, catch this, I mean, this was just a real coup here that worked out really well for us. Hello, this is Clay Staires from the Leadership Initiative. We are reaching out to the members of the Home Builders Association to see if there is anything we can do to add value to your membership with the home builders, while at the same time see if there's anything we can do to help you grow your business. And so by us calling and saying we want to add value to your membership, okay, it connects us to the Home Builders Association. Does that make sense? As opposed to, hey, this is Clay with the Leadership Initiative, how's your business going? Type of thing. All of a sudden there's a disconnect. But I can use the neighborhood, I can use the association to walk through the door. Now, have we had people say, so are you calling on behalf of the Home Builders Association? No, we're not. No, we're not trying to hide anything. No, we're not. Are you guys members of the association? No, we're not. We're just calling people that are on the list of the Home Builders Association, and we want to add value to your membership.
It's kind of like the guy that came in today saying that he was a farmer.
So you can associate yourself with those other people that are in the neighborhood. We have recognized that we have X number of people in your neighborhood that are coming to our office. So that qualifies your neighborhood to be a platinum, to be a gold, to be, you know, to be a special neighborhood. Or we are calling on, we are calling we are calling people in your neighborhood, all right, to add value to your homeowners association, your HOA. Does that make sense? So you can connect yourself to something that allows you to get in that door. And it's been very helpful for us, okay, to use that type of language. Use what I'll call connectors. In the conversation. And I'm not for sure if, Dr. Tate, you would probably have to answer this. I don't know if we want to, if people go, oh, who else is coming from my neighborhood? I don't know if it's okay if we go, oh, well, the Joneses and the Smiths and the Johnsons. I don't think we can do that, But we may want to have something prepared to say if somebody asks us that question. Something similar, well, HIPAA, does not allow us to give you their specific names, but our records are showing that we have this many people in your neighborhood. Something like that, to just reiterate the point, but at the same time let them know that we are kind of bound and we can't give out that information. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
So the type of thing that you're doing right now to prepare you for these conversations, writing scripts for you, and if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Tate is shooting out to you guys videos for you to watch, okay? Sales videos, just all kinds of different opportunities for you to grow and learn, okay? This is kind of where we have 4 different points here. Have you recorded any of the presentations yet? When you're inside here? Has anybody recorded the presentation? Okay, was anybody in athletics? Anybody do athletics?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Did you ever, when you were in athletics, did you ever have anybody like video your game? And then after the game was over, a coach or somebody would watch the video with you? All right. I remember back in the day when we would do it, I didn't get it. I didn't get the point at all until I was actually playing football in college. And I was going, oh, that's why we're watching film. you know? But in
Yeah,
high school,
still.
it was like we were just watching a movie, you know? And, but recording is the way to get better, okay? And so when we start doing these outbound phone calls, we will want to begin recording your phone calls. You've probably gotten that before when you say this phone call is going to be recorded for training purposes. That's what's going on. We want to capture that. And it can be difficult listening to yourself on the phone.
Oh, that's
Okay.
terrible.
Oh, I know. I do it with several of my clients that they're doing phone calls. I require them, you got to record it, and then when we come in and do our meeting together, I want to listen to your phone calls. And so we're just sitting there listening to get them, we're listening to them getting rejected over and over and over. And they're just sitting over there sweating. It's like, okay. But it's when we're hearing that, it's like, okay, right here was where you needed to move the conversation. You allowed this person to take you off script. And that is the number one problem that we have with people making these phone calls is they don't stay on the script. In their minds, they're thinking, oh, I need to talk to this person about something. It'll help me. It's like, shut up. Stick to the script. We have something that we do around our office is stick to the script over the cliff. Just stick with it. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Okay, well, hey, so let me ask you a couple of questions. You know, stick to the script. I told you I don't want to talk to you. That's very nice. So on a scale from 1 to 10, what do you want? Stick to the script. Click. Stick to the script all the way over the cliff. Because if you don't stick to the script, we don't know how to change things. If you're going rogue and doing your own thing, that's great that you're able to get the close, but I can't reproduce that. So we have to stick to the script. Does that make sense?
I had
So-
to my grandma on the phone the other day with some lady from, what's that one that like you enter in, they bring like $5,000 a month or whatever. She called them to get her free diamond watch, and they're like, okay, so what magazine do you want? She's like, well, honey, I can't order any magazines. And the lady was like, okay, so like out of the 5, which one would you choose? And she was like, I told you I can't order any. She's like, so but hypothetically, if you were going to choose 2, which would you choose? So my grandma chose 2, and she's like, okay, let me get you on the phone with my supervisor.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you doing? Get off the phone. You're spending money. Stop.
Yeah, and I've done that a number of times on the phone when I know that I'm getting a sales call. How many of you guys love sales calls?
No.
Okay, we don't like sales calls.
You
I
do?
now.
But I would
I love
encourage
this.
you at some
I do.
point to go ahead and walk down that path. All right? And give them the classic, no, I don't want your product, and see how they respond. It's going to be a little too much money. Can I get it cheaper? You know, do I have to spend that? You just start hitting them with all the questions that you hear and see how they respond.
That'd be fun.
Purple ostrich. You know, I'm really looking for a purple ostrich.
Yeah.
Dr. J.
Okay?
Boom. See
So,
what they do.
so as we get into this conversation, when we're talking about our conversation on the phone, we want to make sure that we have the thing scripted and that everybody is following the script. Okay? I'm going to stop there for now because we're out of time today. But I know that Dr. Tate, again, as we're moving forward, you guys are starting to really knock the lights out of it on our inbound sales, okay, here in the shop. So what we will be doing in the future is adding a new dimension of actually making outbound phone calls. And so that's where we're going to be putting in these super moves. Okay? Any comments?
Would you define scaling? So
Scaling.
everyone has a scaling business.
Yeah. The example that I used, I paid Sean $285, $300, okay, to make X number of phone calls. Those number of phone calls and that amount of money produced this amount of money for my company. So now if I want to produce increased amount of money, now I know I need to make this many phone calls. Does that make sense? Now I've got my dashboard in place so I can now scale.
So pretty much you make an equation.
Yeah.
Kind of. You're using leads, and I don't know how to verbalize this well, but tasks that when maybe you're given that seem like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. But in reality, you follow the system. The system is designed to get more people in the door. We're going to talk today, we're fixing to go into a season of that. When the schedule typically drops off, look at 2016. Once you hit April, we start having lots of open spots, so we don't have pre-appoints to fill it up. So we are focusing with a lot of different methods, from April till July is through about getting people in the door, about controlling that, not like we've done in the past, just saying, gee, I hope people call in. Gee, I hope these pre-points show up when we call them 2 weeks ahead. But we're really gonna start, I mean, for lack of a better term, just hammering patients that haven't been here in 2 years, hammering Google, social media, giving, I can't get the term, what's the dollar, I always call it a hook, but a no-brainer
No-brainer
offer
close.
to get new people in. That's kind of the season that we're going in. So we're not gonna abandon the sales system, we're gonna keep sharpening that. But you
What
guys
if
are
the
gonna,
dollar
And
free?
all of that is right here. You guys are gonna hit this, okay?
Yeah,
So
for
that we
sure.
can have this, provide this for people when they're here. Here's where we are. I mean, it's all lines up. And the whole thing with scaling too, as I was telling you, Dr. Tate, really soon, we need to get into this place where we have determined how many patients can you do, all right? Because eventually, we're gonna get more and more patients. We don't wanna just give you more and more and more work. Eventually, we can scale that as well, okay? To know, at this point, it's time to bring in doctor number 2.